All right, welcome in everyone. Ready for a deep dive.
Definitely.
Today we're looking at something massive. India just totally revamped their entire criminal law system.
Yeah, they replaced three huge laws back on July 1st of this year.
It's a pretty big deal. I mean, this affects how crimes are defined, how they are investigated,
Right.
and even how people interact with the entire justice system.
Yeah, exactly.
And the source we're going to be looking at today comes from Jagger and Josh. They break down all these new laws.
That's a great source for this.
So let's just jump right into it.
Yeah.
First, can you just give us like a little overview? What are these new laws? What are they replacing? Like the basics?
Sure. Yeah, this is basically a total makeover
Okay.
of the main criminal laws in India.
Okay.
So we've got the Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita, or BNS,
Yeah.
and it replaces the Indian Penal Code.
Okay.
And then there's the Bharatiya Nagarik Suraksha Sanhita, so that was the BNSS,
Okay.
and it replaces the Criminal Procedure Code. And then finally, the third one is the Bharatiya Sakshiyat Niyam, or BSA, and that's the one that replaces the Indian Evidence Act.
Wow. So that's like a whole new set of rules and procedures and everything.
Yeah, a complete legal makeover, you could say.
Yeah. I'm really interested in that BNS, the new rule book.
Yeah.
What are some of the biggest changes? What stands out?
One that's been really controversial
Okay.
is Clause 69, which deals with deceitful sex.
Okay. Deceitful sex.
It basically makes it a crime
Mm-hmm.
to
Mm-hmm.
to have sex with someone that you got consent from through, some kind of dishonest means.
Okay, so if you're not really who you say you are, or
Right.
you made promises that you didn't keep.
Right, exactly. Things like false promises of marriage or
Yeah.
promotions at work or even just, hiding your identity.
Yeah, I can see how that would protect people. I mean, that sounds like, a good thing. But isn't there a chance that this could be, misused? What about relationships that just go bad?
Yeah, that's what a lot of people are worried about.
Okay.
That it could be used to criminalize relationships that were consensual at the time,
Yeah.
but then, things went sour.
Yeah. So how do they handle that?
So the clause is really specific about defining deceit,
Okay.
right? It says that consent has to be given solely based on that misrepresentation.
Oh.
Like the person wouldn't have consented otherwise.
Got it.
So it's going to be interesting to see, how this plays out in court.
Yeah, that sounds tricky. What else is kind of a big change in the BNS?
So another big one is Clause 103,
Okay.
and that one makes murder based on
Yeah.
someone's caste, community, or race
Okay.
its own separate offense.
Oh, wow.
So, I mean, this is a really big deal in India, right? Given,
Yeah.
the history and the struggles they've had with these kinds of issues.
Yeah.
So it's a pretty strong statement that they're putting this right in their legal framework.
Right. So it's they're acknowledging that
Yeah,
these inequalities exist and they need to be addressed legally, not just, socially.
exactly. Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
recognition of these issues at
Yeah.
a really fundamental level.
Absolutely. And speaking of tackling some really tough issues,
Yeah.
what about organized crime? Does the BNS
Mhm.
address that at all?
Definitely. And it does it in
Okay.
a really comprehensive way, I think.
Okay.
So Clause 111.1 gives a really, clear definition of what organized crime is.
Okay.
And it puts all these different offenses, extortion, kidnapping, human trafficking,
Mm-hmm.
even cyber crimes that have severe consequences. It brings them all under one umbrella.
Whoa, 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 hold on. Severe consequences when it comes to cybercrime.
Yeah,
I mean, how do they even define what's severe online?
that's a great question. It's definitely open to interpretation.
Okay.
But think about things like, huge data breaches
Okay.
that lead to massive financial losses
Mm-mm.
or cyber attacks that, actually disrupt critical infrastructure.
Oh, okay.
Those would probably fall under severe consequences, right?
Okay, yeah.
So the law is basically trying to, discourage these kinds of cyber crimes
Yeah.
by treating them as seriously as traditional organized crime.
Okay, so they're basically saying, look, cybercrime, it's not just some, virtual thing. It has real-world impacts,
Yeah,
and we're going to treat it that way.
absolutely. It's a recognition that,
Mm-hmm.
criminal activity is changing in
Yeah.
the digital age.
Wow. So this is a pretty
Yeah.
intense BNS so far.
Yeah, there are a lot of changes.
Yeah.
Big ones.
Are there any changes that are a little less intense, a little more lighthearted?
Well, how about this? Snatching is officially its own crime now.
Like grabbing someone's purse and running off.
Yep, exactly.
Wow, finally getting the recognition it deserves.
Right.
But it's not just theft anymore.
So it's under Clause 304, and it's separate from theft.
Okay.
But the punishments are the same.
Okay, so they just wanted to make it clear that
Yeah.
snatching's a thing.
Yeah, it gets its own
Like-
category.
Got it. Now, is this this whole BNS, is this like a complete departure from the old IPC?
It's not a total revolution.
Okay.
You know,
Okay.
while it does introduce a lot of new things,
Okay.
the structure of the BNS
Okay.
actually mirrors the IPC in some ways.
Oh, interesting.
Like especially in the early chapters,
Okay.
you know, general exceptions, punishments, that kind of thing.
Oh, so there's a little bit of continuity there.
Yeah, a little bit of continuity
Okay.
amidst all the modernization.
I like it. So, so the BNS, it sounds like it lays the groundwork for, yeah.
A much more modern approach to defining crimes.
Mm-hmm.
But what about the process? What about investigating, prosecuting these crimes? Is that where the BNSS comes in?
That's exactly where the BNSS comes in.
Okay.
Yeah, it's all about modernizing those procedures.
Okay.
And one of the biggest changes, mandatory forensics.
Oh, wow.
For any crime with a sentence of 7 years or more,
Okay.
forensics are a must.
So we're talking fingerprints, DNA, the whole 9 yards.
Exactly.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's like CSI, India out there.
Yeah, pretty much.
I mean, this is a big step towards, you know,
Yeah,
a much more robust and evidence-based justice system.
for sure.
Anything else the BNSS is bringing to the table?
Well, maybe the most transformative thing
Yes.
is the move towards a digital system.
Oh, wow. Like what?
We're talking electronic filing, online portals for reporting crimes,
Hmm.
maybe even virtual court proceedings in the future.
Whoa, that's a huge shift.
It is, it is. I mean, what brought this on? Is it about efficiency? Is it about accessibility?
Yeah, it's definitely about making things
Rich.
more efficient, you know, streamlining the process.
Okay.
But it's also about
Yeah.
making the justice system more accessible, you know,
Right.
for the average person. Imagine, you know, being able to file a police report online
Oh, yeah.
or access court documents
Yeah.
from, you know, anywhere in the country.
That would be a game changer, especially for people in rural areas.
Yeah, absolutely.
But, you know,
Yeah.
I mean, not everyone in India has access to technology, right?
Right, you've hit a really
Mm.
crucial point.
Yeah.
The digital divide is a big challenge here.
Mm.
So they're going to have to invest in infrastructure
Yeah.
and digital literacy programs
Right.
to make this really work.
It sounds like a massive undertaking, but also like an incredible opportunity.
Yeah, it's a chance to
Mm.
to make the justice system more inclusive, more accessible to everyone.
Absolutely. So, okay, we've got the new laws, we've got these modernized procedures.
Right.
What's the final piece of the puzzle?
That's the BSA,
Okay.
and that's the one that focuses on evidence,
Okay.
how it's gathered, how it's presented,
Yeah.
how it's used in court.
Got it.
And in the digital age, that means, you know, a whole new set of possibilities.
Okay. So if the BNS is the rule book, the BNSS is the playbook,
Yeah.
then the BSA is like the evidence locker.
I like that analogy, yeah.
So what kind of evidence are we talking about here?
Think about all the ways
Okay.
we communicate online, right?
Yeah.
Emails, texts, social media posts,
Mhm.
server logs,
Mhm.
website content.
Yeah.
All of that is now considered admissible evidence.
Wow. So they're saying that our digital footprints basically can be used to prove things in court.
Exactly. They're recognizing that,
Yeah.
you know, in today's world, our online lives are just as important as our offline lives
Right.
when it comes to, you know, finding the truth.
Absolutely. But does that open up any privacy concerns? I mean,
Yeah, that's a big question.
aren't people worried about that?
Legal experts are already debating that pretty intensely, I think.
Yeah, it makes sense.
It's a tough question.
Yeah.
How do you balance, you know, the need to find evidence
Yeah.
with people's right to privacy?
Especially in this digital world.
Yeah, it's a question that's just going to become more,
Wow.
you know, more and more important
Yeah,
as technology keeps advancing.
for sure. Are there any other
Yeah.
big changes to how they handle evidence with this BSA?
Well, one thing is they've made it possible to accept electronically recorded oral evidence.
Okay, so like audio recordings, video
Yeah,
recordings.
things like, witness statements or
Hmm.
confessions.
Got it. So that could definitely help with accuracy, right? Instead of relying on, handwritten notes.
Right. It's all
Yeah.
about making sure the evidence is, as
Yeah.
accurate and as reliable
Yeah,
as possible.
absolutely. Anything else stand out in the BSA?
Yeah, there's one more thing I think is really significant.
Okay.
There's a specific provision
Yeah.
for audio-video recording victim statements
Okay.
in rape cases.
Wow.
It's a big step towards, protecting victims
Yeah.
and making the investigations more transparent.
It's really important to make sure that
Yeah.
those victims' voices are heard
Yeah.
and that everything is, documented properly.
Right, exactly. And that's,
Yeah.
a key part of the BSA,
Yeah.
bringing the idea of evidence into the 21st century.
Right, because evidence isn't just about, what you can see and touch anymore. It's
Exactly.
also about
Yeah.
digital records,
Yeah.
audio, video, the whole thing.
Yeah.
So, anything else we should know about this new approach to evidence?
So one more interesting point is how they've expanded the definition of secondary evidence.
Okay.
It used to be that only copies of documents counted as secondary evidence.
Okay.
But now they've included written and oral admissions.
Oh, interesting.
So if someone admits to something, either in writing or verbally,
Okay.
that can be used as secondary evidence.
I imagine that could have a pretty big impact on how legal arguments are made.
Absolutely. Yeah, it gives
Yeah.
lawyers more to work with
Right.
when they're building their cases.
So we've covered a lot, new crimes, new procedures, new kinds of evidence. It sounds like India's justice system is going through a massive transformation.
It really is, yeah.
So where do we go from here?
Well, I think it's important to remember that this is all still
Okay.
pretty new. We're not going to know the real impact of these
Yeah.
reforms
Yeah.
until they're actually implemented and tested in
Okay.
real life situations.
Right. So we have to kind of wait and see.
Yeah,
But that's what we're going to be exploring in the next part of our deep dive.
that's right.
Okay, so we've just scratched the surface here of these major legal reforms in India.
Right.
Now I'm really curious about how this is all going to actually play out in people's lives. What does the article say about that?
Well, one of the main goals they talk about is making the system
Okay.
more efficient
Okay.
and more accessible for everyday people.
Yeah, because what's the point of having a legal system if people can't actually use it, right?
Exactly. And that's where
Yeah.
a lot of these specific changes come in.
Okay, so what are they doing to make that happen?
So a big focus is on digitization, which we talked about a little earlier.
Yeah.
The BNSS, it actually mandates electronic filing and proceedings
Okay.
for things like filing police reports, accessing court documents.
Okay.
So instead of having to deal with all this
Yeah.
bureaucracy, in person,
Yeah.
you could potentially just handle all of this stuff online.
Wow, that sounds really convenient.
Yeah.
But I mean, realistically, how is that going to work in India?
Right.
There's a huge digital divide there.
You're absolutely right. That's
Yeah.
that's a major challenge. And the article actually acknowledges that.
Okay.
They talk about the need to really bridge that gap
Okay.
in terms of digital access and digital literacy.
Yeah.
So they're going to have to invest a lot of money
Yeah.
in infrastructure and education.
It sounds like a huge undertaking.
It is.
But I mean, the payoff could be pretty incredible.
Right.
If everyone can access the justice system, no matter where they are
Right.
or what their tech skills are like, I mean,
Yeah.
that's a huge step forward.
It really is.
So this move toward a digital legal system,
Yeah.
it sounds like it's just one part of this bigger effort to modernize everything.
It is, yeah. They also want to make
Yeah.
investigations and court proceedings more efficient.
So it's not just about making it
Right.
easier for people to access, but also making the whole system work better.
Exactly. More
Thank you.
streamlined and effective.
Okay, so what else are they doing to achieve that?
Well, for example, the BNSS mandates
Yeah.
forensic investigations for serious crimes,
Okay.
like we talked about. That ensures
Yeah.
a more thorough scientific approach to gathering evidence.
Mm-hmm.
which, can lead to more accurate, more just outcomes.
Right, because you're taking out some of that.
Yeah.
Human error, potentially.
Right.
Yeah.
But even with all the best, laws and procedures,
Yeah.
they're still going to have
Right.
the human factor.
Exactly. So what about things like police corruption, or bias within the system?
You're bringing up a really important point.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that these reforms
Okay.
don't really address directly.
So how do you fix those kinds of problems?
That's a much bigger issue.
Yeah.
It's going to require a lot more than just changing the laws.
Okay. So what needs to happen?
You need things like better police training,
Okay.
accountability mechanisms,
Mhm.
and really, broader societal change.
So it's a much longer term process.
It is, yeah.
It's not just about changing the rules on paper.
It's about building a more just and equitable
Yeah.
society as a whole.
So these reforms are just one piece
Yeah.
of a much bigger puzzle.
Are there any roadblocks that we should be thinking about?
Well, one concern with reforms this big
Okay.
is that there might be some unintended consequences.
Okay. Like what?
For instance, some of the
Okay.
broader language, like the clause about cybercrimes with severe consequences.
Yeah, we talked about that one.
Yeah.
That one seemed kind of vague.
It could be interpreted
Okay.
in ways that restrict free speech
Okay.
or online expression.
Yeah, that's a valid concern.
It is. It shows how important it is to
Okay.
keep monitoring these reforms,
Right.
evaluating them,
Yeah.
making sure they're being used
Okay.
in a way that respects people's rights.
So it's all about finding that that balance
Yeah.
between security and freedom.
It's a tough balance.
It is a tough balance,
Yeah.
and I imagine it's something that
Yeah.
a lot of countries are struggling with.
Absolutely, yeah.
So we've talked about the international influence of these reforms,
Yeah.
but what about in India itself?
Well, I think it's a really interesting time.
Okay.
There's a lot of opportunity, but also a lot of
Yeah.
uncertainty.
Hmm.
Because the success of these reforms,
Yeah.
it really depends on a lot of things.
Yeah.
How effectively they're implemented,
Oh, yeah.
whether the public accepts them,
Yeah.
all of that.
And like we said, there are some pretty big challenges to overcome, right?
There are, like,
The digital divide, police training, corruption.
yeah, all of that.
It's a lot to
Yeah.
to tackle.
It is. But if they can,
Hmm.
if
Yeah.
they can get it right,
Yeah.
the potential benefits are huge.
Yeah. What are some of those potential benefits?
Well, it could lead to a more efficient,
okay.
more accessible,
Mm-hmm.
and more responsive justice system for
Yeah.
all Indian citizens.
Wow. So this is
Pretty big deal.
it is a big deal. Yeah.
It's like a grand experiment.
Yeah. And the
Yeah.
and the whole world's watching to see what happens.
So, as someone who studies this,
Mm-hmm.
what are you
Yeah.
what are you most interested in seeing?
What really fascinates me is
Good.
the human element.
Okay, what do you mean by that?
Well, how will these changes actually affect people's everyday lives?
Yeah.
I mean, will they actually notice a difference
Yeah.
when they interact with the justice system?
Yeah. Will it be easier to report a crime?
Yeah.
Easier to get legal help?
Yeah.
Easier to
Yeah.
to actually seek justice?
Those are the real questions.
Right, because that's what it's all about, right?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's about making things better for people.
Yeah.
So we're really just at the beginning of this
Yeah.
this whole story.
We are. This is just
Not the first chapter.
now. Speaking of stories, there's one more aspect of this that we need to talk about,
Okay.
and that's the global implications of these
Right.
reforms.
Yeah.
And that's what we're going to be getting into in the final part of our deep dive.
Sounds good.
Okay, so we've talked about how India's new criminal laws could change things inside the country.
Right.
But what about the impact globally? I mean, these reforms aren't happening in a vacuum, right?
No, not at all. India's a major player on the world stage, and these changes,
Yeah.
they really send a message, I think,
What kind of message?
that India is committed to
Okay.
to having a modern
Yeah.
21st century legal system.
So it's not just like an internal thing. It's a
You like-
statement to the rest of the world about
Right.
how India views justice. Wow. So are other countries paying attention to this?
Definitely.
Okay.
Especially countries that are dealing with,
That's
the
it.
same kinds of challenges.
Okay. Like what?
The rise of cybercrime,
Okay.
figuring out how to use digital evidence, all of that.
Yeah.
They're all watching India to see
Yeah.
what happens.
It's like India's become this
Yeah.
this test ground for new legal ideas.
Yeah, in a way.
So what parts of these reforms do you think are going to be like the most interesting for other countries?
Well, the focus on digital evidence
Okay.
and electronic legal proceedings.
That's a big one.
A lot of countries are still
Okay.
behind when it
Yeah.
comes to using technology in their legal systems.
So India's kind of leading the way here.
They're definitely
Yeah.
taking a big step forward.
Yeah. So other countries might look to India
Yeah.
as an example of how to do this.
Yeah, they could see it as a kind of a
Mm-hmm.
roadmap.
Okay, that's pretty cool. But are there any concerns about, these reforms having maybe some negative global consequences?
Yeah, I mean, whenever you have a big change like this,
Right.
there's always a chance
Okay.
that things could go wrong.
Like what?
For example, some of the language in the laws
Okay.
is a little bit vague.
Okay.
Like that clause about cybercrimes with
Yeah.
severe consequences.
Rory, we talked about those.
Other countries might adopt that kind of language
Right, okay.
and then use it to restrict free speech or online expression.
Yeah, that's definitely a worry.
It is.
It just shows how important it is to be really careful and to think about the
Yeah.
potential downsides of
Yeah.
of any kind of legal change.
Yeah, even when you're trying to trying to do something good, there can be unintended consequences.
Right. It's all about finding that balance.
Exactly.
So we've talked about the potential international impact of these reforms, but I want to go back to India for a minute.
Okay.
How do you see all of this playing out?
Yeah.
Within the country.
I think it's a really crucial moment for India.
Okay.
There's a lot of potential here
Yeah.
for positive change,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not going to be easy.
Right. We've talked about all the challenges.
Yeah, the digital divide, the need for police training, corruption,
Yeah.
all of that.
Yeah. Those are some
Some
pretty big obstacles to overcome.
They are, but if India can
Okay.
address these challenges
Yeah.
and implement these reforms effectively, it could really lead to a much better justice system.
Okay. So it's all about
Yeah.
execution.
Yeah, it's all about taking these ideas
Yeah.
and making them a reality.
So what are you personally most interested in seeing as this all plays out?
I'm really interested in the human stories.
Oh, okay.
How are these changes going to affect ordinary people?
Yeah.
Will it actually be easier for them to report crimes,
Okay.
to get legal help,
Yeah.
to find justice?
Yeah. I mean, those are the questions that matter, right?
Absolutely. At the end of the day, it's all about
Mm.
making people's lives better.
Absolutely. Well, I think that's a great place to wrap up our deep dive.
Yeah.
We've talked about the details of India's new criminal laws,
Yeah.
the challenges,
Right.
the potential for impact, both in India and around the world.
It's a big story.
It is a big story, and it's a story that's just getting started.
Exactly. This is it's just the beginning.
So to everyone listening,
Yay.
thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Mm-hmm.
We hope you learned something new.
Yeah.
And that this sparked some
Yeah.
interesting thoughts and
Yeah.
questions.
Definitely.
We'll be keeping an eye on this story,
Mm.
and we'll definitely revisit it in the future.
Yeah. There's going to be a lot more to talk about.
Absolutely. Until then, keep learning, keep exploring, and we'll see you next time.